Good evening, everyone, and I hope you all had a good day. And we will just wait while we get the technical things sorted out here. Okay, lovely. Tonight we're going to share on, thank you, I'm using Graham the Great's phone tonight because I don't know what's wrong with my phone. So if there's anyone out there who would like to donate a phone, it'll be, yeah, no problem. So I'm, like I said, I'm using Graham the Great's phone tonight because my phone won't go live. So if anyone's got a phone that they'd like to discard of, that's addict behavior. Hello, Lee J, head of social media. Hello, Gertrude. If people don't want to believe me what a drunk I was, ask Gertrude. She was my bottle store manager in Cape Town, and she used to give us 6-packs every morning as she opened up. And she was the one who named the original Tyson. When we walked in there one early morning, myself and Marius, and Gertrude said, this was many years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And she said, where you get the dog from? So I said, well, we just bought the dog. And she said, what's the name going to be? So I said, no, we haven't got a name for him yet. We just got him. So she said, why don't you call him Tyson? Got his name from the bottle store. So he was also part. Tyson was in recovery for a long time. And, okay, that's Eddie behind me. Welcome to everyone so far. I'm going to talk on long-term hope. Most of us are born with an abundance of natural desires. Isn't it strange that we often let these exceed their intended purpose? When they drive us blindly, or we willfully demand that they deny us with some more satisfactions and pleasures than are possible or due to us. You know, I've always in my life been, a bit of a, an activist in everything. I've always gone for the underdog. I wasn't a drunk my whole life. I've had very good jobs. I've earned lots of money. I've traveled the world. I've kind of seen both sides. So I'm the person who will stand up and say something and either be loved or hated. And I don't mind, I don't mind. It used to hassle me in the beginning, but it doesn't hassle me anymore. I'm who I am, and if you don't accept who I am, then it's hard luck. Sometimes people think that truth is hate, but it's not at all. Because we hate the people who think that truth is hate. They hate the truth. And that's what we find in recovery. I'll just tell you shortly, we had a case today where a guy was on our farm for 2 weeks. He ran away. I spoke about it the other night. He ran away and then he got himself locked up. Interested in getting bail, and we went with our lawyer and all this kind of things. And then today we get a call from his family and a call from the lawyer. Now he's crying. He wants to come out. He wants to come back to the farm. Hey, his back is against the wall. Does he really want to come back to the farm? Now, you must give him another chance. Don't get me wrong. We're obviously going to give the man another chance. But we mustn't play gung-ho heroes, man. Another thing I just want to touch on here. In the 11 years that I've had this farm, and I've had rail for 13 years, is that the people that I sponsor, which is more than half the people on this farm, the people that I sponsor, some of them are the most ungrateful people I've ever met in my entire life. And one of the reasons for that, because if they just stuff up and come here and play games and moan and complain, is that they can leave and then they'd say to their mom, oh, well, you didn't lose any money. Anthony Hall lost the money. The gratitude amongst people that you sponsor is 5%. And you can ask my manager, Kurt that, and Graham and Angus. They're just not interested because they are full of entitlement. Full of entitlement, and that's where we're gonna lose the plot. That's where addiction, if we're only gonna talk about addiction recovery, drugs and alcohol, and have nothing else to put our passions to, we're going to live a very boring life. So I take on various things. I make videos every day about our children getting killed, about farm murders, about this taking a knee for some person. We must worry about what is happening in our country. And I was in politics last year, and I left politics because when I was made the premier candidate, it was too much. I couldn't run a farm and run politics. But my farm management now at the moment is very strong. We are very strong. And I've got beautiful people who've been with me for years. So, when we want more out of life, that God wishes, and God's going to give it to us, there's a long-term hope is born, and perspective is gained, both of the nature of my illness and the path of my recovery. The beauty of recovering is knowing that my life, with God's help, will improve. So if I've been on the streets, and some people haven't, if you've been in prison, some people haven't. I had someone come into me today and said, Mr. Hall, can I speak to you? So I said, obviously, what do you want? And he said, no, I'm not as bad an addict as the other addicts on the farm. You know, when I hear crap like that, where people want to judge another addict, it's a very sad, very sad, very sad. And we get to the position of, then Graham and I today, we took a drive out with Carl. Carl is a con. But he's excellent in taxes and computers. And we went around and we went to a farmer who's given us a lot of Wingerdstokke. And I stood there and I looked there and I thought, oh, there's no workers on this farm. We're banned from the farm. How are they eating? We used to go in the winter, and we'll do it this winter as well. Every night we used to go out and feed people. So that the homeless people in Worcester and Rawsonville know us so well. Because times are hard. And our country is failing us. And our president is failing us. We can't just have an interest in drugs and alcohol. You must have another interest. You must look around, like I've looked around in my life and say, hey, what does interest me? I love politics, I love history, and I love law. And I've done very well in law without being registered or attorney on that. But I've done very well in law because I'm interested in those kind of things. I can't just let my whole life, because I was an alcoholic and an addict, that is now my whole life, and I'm only going to concentrate on the alcohol and on the addiction side of it. The addiction side of it comes in when we start thinking to ourselves, what am I going to do next? When I come out of a recovery center, when I go to AA, when I go to NA, when I find my purpose, what am I going to do? Where's the passion? You know, and I love the messages we're getting back. It's always nice to get feedback. Not feedback, hey, well spoken or crap spoken, or whatever you want to say. But it's lovely to get the feedback so we know that we're making a difference. I got a beautiful message today from a lady. It was nice. It gets touching that we become a family. Tomorrow night, we've got Carl is going to share tomorrow night, and then Tank is going to share on Wednesday night, Kurt will share on Thursday night, and Graham the Great will share on Friday night. Don't miss Graham the Great, because he's the greatest thing since bubblegum. Where long-term hope is born and perspective is found, I find the path of my recovery. What do I want to do? Because recovery is a whole long process. What do I want to do one day? What do I want to become? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to give back? How do I serve my fellow man? If I'm just going to talk about alcohol and drugs for the rest of my life, I'm going to have a very boring life. The beauty of recovery lies in knowing that my life, with God's help, is going to improve. If I was 15 years ago, I was on the park bench. Just before that, in prison, where I didn't pay a restaurant. Today I can sit and not say, well, I've made it, I've achieved it, but things that I've done have allowed me to feel a bit of satisfaction without being a prideful, egotistical bastard. and thinking that the whole world revolved around me. Because I was entitled. And I believed that the whole world revolved around me. Until the world came crashing down on me. And there was no one to turn to but my mother and my father. And then my father, by that time, had written me off. He wasn't interested in my crap. But like mothers do, Mommy was there. Mommy was there all the time. And thank God I'm there for my mom today. Our dreams become realities. Have our youngsters lost the dream? Do our youngsters dream anymore? Do they think that because I've made a mess up from at the beginning of my life, there's a chance for me to still make it in life? That's why again I'll say it. And I'll probably say it a couple of times tonight. It cannot just be about alcohol and drugs. It's about life. What is my dream? Have I fulfilled my passion? What is my legacy I'm going to leave this world? What are they going to say at my funeral? Even though we can't hear them. Today is the most important day in everyone's lives, your lives and my life. What difference have I made in my life today? And what difference have I made in another man or woman's life today? Have I shown care? Have I shown honesty? Have I shown love? Have I blessed someone? Have I blessed something with a... We see what is happening in the newspapers at the moment, or what we're reading on social media and the newspapers. Horrendous statistics of the domestic abuse, what is happening around the country. We see it, what they're doing to our animals. Do we just turn a blind eye and say, well, I'm an alcoholic and an addict, and the only thing I'm going to put my mind to is alcohol and drugs, and not use alcohol and drugs? That's not sobriety. That is what they call the dry drunk syndrome. And one night I will talk on the dry drunk syndrome, because it's a very interesting topic. As I step into the light of recovery, my heart fills with the presence of God. We had a long day today on the farm. I was at the courts, and I went to the farmer that gave us the Vingerstokker. And when we got back, the guys, we had a meeting. Then they went to go and do devotions, because we didn't do devotions this morning. We were just too busy. But we're not going to give it up. So whether I do devotions at 6 o'clock at night, or you do devotions at 6 o'clock in the morning, no difference. Still doing devotions. Now they're busy showering, and then they will eat. They normally eat at 5:30. I must show them that things don't go according always to their will. Because things happen in life. One day if you've got a job and your boss says to you, okay, you have to work till 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Hey, you can't first go home and have supper. So things happen and things change. In my view, there isn't the slightest objection to people who want to, and this was a big one brought up here, remain anonymous. I didn't mind when people called me drunk, drugged, pig, waste of skin. You will become nothing, you're worth nothing. No. I have to tell the people, if they ask me, if I go out to a place and they say to me, sorry, Anthony, would you like a drink? I'm not going to tell them I'm on antibiotics. Because in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to meet them again somewhere, and they're going to say, Anthony, would you like a drink? No, sorry, I'm changing antibiotics here now. No. I'm an alcoholic in recovery, brother. You drink, you carry on, you go mull. I'll even buy you a drink if you want to. I think I bought more drinks since I became than I was drunk. So whether we stay anonymous, because what happens is people are suffering in silence. Mothers and fathers suffering in silence. A lot of wives are suffering in silence because their husbands are in denial that they've got a drinking or drugging problem. And that's what our children get used to. If they have the screaming and the shouting, monkey see, monkey do. And I'm talking from experience. I'm not talking because I've got nothing better to talk about. Angie, Okay, Angus is back. He was at his girlfriend this weekend. He goes out once every 8 weeks or 7 weeks, starting to be a carer, and he's coming up 3 years sober, and he's back and he's full of life. So he obviously had a very good weekend. Shame can hold us back, or it can hold us down. I'm sure most of us have done shameful things in our life. But that doesn't make out who we are today. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow is promised. Is it a promise? If we do the next right thing and God keeps us alive? But as I sit here now, I'm in the present. And in the present, I must be feeling good or feeling bad. I can't be half pregnant. And most addicts and alcoholics that I have known through all the years want the instant gratification to get what they need and get what they want, and then manipulate, dishonest, lie to their parents. And unfortunately, a lot of parents suck it up and believe it. And then in a month's time, they want to know why it's exactly the same thing. Dishonest, manipulative, you name it, we did it. So listen to us on that. Watch out for shame. Many systems and people reek of shame. Just look at our government and how many billions of rands have been stolen. Are they full of shame? No. But we know we have to answer one day. They may be hoping to hook us up and control us through shame. And a lot of times it's very closer to home than we think. Mom can say this or dad can say this, and then the addict will say, because I've said, but unconditional. Ladies and gentlemen who are on here, and I can't see everyone on here, there's quite a lot of people on here. Don't let your kids manipulate you, man. When I was a child or young 19, 20-year-old, I manipulated full stop all the time. And I paid the price, and so did my parents. We need to, it's not even tough love, man. It's love. A woman phoned me today and says her son is in prison. Release. Can he come here for parole? Then another one phoned me and said, my son is lying at home with his girlfriend. All they do is lie at home and drug. What can I do? You can't force a person into recovery. Then you have to go to the courts and get them sectioned and throw them into Nopewood. They're human beings, don't get me wrong. But when we drugged in alcohol, we're not Anthony Hall or Graham van Rensburg. We are different people. Because our mind had been altered by a mind-altering substance. Compulsive behaviors. We were always compulsive. You know, it was compulsive behaviors. I don't know if any one of you can identify it. Just being compulsive the whole time. And then we used to funk talkies when we were drunk or drugged. And we'd clean it. We would clean the floor for 3 hours. And the floor was only about 2 meters big. Or take a radio apart when there was nothing wrong with the radio. Those are what they call the talkies that we fung when we use drugs. Sexually addictive behaviors. Addiction, gambling, drugging, all go in the same package. It's like a Vodacom starter pack. Goes in the same package. Overeating. That must be terrible. And I mean that. That must be terrible to suffer from. Because you have to eat. We don't have to drug. We don't have to put a drug to our mouth. But if someone's got overeating, they still have. It's terrible, that. My heart really goes out to those people. Chemical abuse and addictive gambling. How many people commit suicide after they've gone and they spent their salary at the machines, hoping to get more? Nothing wrong with gambling. There's nothing wrong with it. But don't take what you can't afford, because then there's something wrong with it. We don't have to fall into their shame. Instead, we'll take the good feelings. The good feelings that we have. The good feelings that we're sober. The good feelings that mom and dad are at ease and relaxing. Excuse me. The good feeling that I got my mother next door here in the room 3 meters away from me, about to go to sleep with her nurse. Fed, changed, had a nice warm cup of tea. That's my mother. And that's how we as men should treat our mothers and our wives. We don't have to feel ashamed at all. I'm not ashamed of my past. If my past can save one family a life of hell, I've done my job. Got a beautiful message today from a guy by the name of Charlie Williams. And he said he's been following RAEL for a long time, and he's sitting down in lockdown tonight, and he's celebrating 10 years of recovery. Well done, Charles. Amazing, amazing. We need to watch out for any addictive behaviors. Our past and brainwashing, we may have had that imposed. This can happen when we're all alone walking through the grocery store, or just quietly going about living our life. Don't think, don't feel, don't grow or change. Don't be alive, don't love life. How boring. How boring would that be on our lives? People have gone through worse than we have. Lee J, sitting in Newcastle in a wheelchair, who does so much for RAEL, a beautiful girl, has been through more than I've been through. Because today she's dependent on someone for all her moves. Never give up 5 minutes before the miracle. Today I will deliberately refuse to get caught up in shame. If people come and say, your son was a drug addict, your daughter was a drug addict, so what? They're clean now. And anyway, since when did you become God? Floating in around the world, if I cannot resist it, I will feel it and I will accept it. What do I want to accept? I accept that I've got a past. I ruined a lot of my life, many years of my life through alcohol and drugs. But by the grace of God, not today. And so many addicts around the world will tell you the same thing. Once you've been bitten by that bug of addiction recovery, life is great. Potholes that go with it. Nothing is smooth. And we don't have to walk around with guilt either. If we have made our amends to people we don't have, because too many times we walk around with guilt and shame, and we use that as the backdoor excuse to drink and drug again. Because we haven't cleaned house. We haven't cleaned the inside. And we use that as an excuse. What are we trying to prove in this journey? We don't have to prove anything to anyone. I have to prove something to myself. A subconscious desire to prove ourselves. Don't our mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, loved ones just want their son, daughter, father back? That is not intoxicated every night. That is not hitting mom. That is not hitting dad. We don't need that in our lives. The root of our need to do and be more. I was speaking to the guys today and I said, you guys come in and say, you'll do any job when you leave here. But when you get that job, it's not good enough. You want to go straight to the top immediately. It doesn't work that way. When I came out of prison, I couldn't get a job after being a director of a major retail store. And I went to a job in Free Play Radio, and I got a job and I earned R367.50 a week. I'll never forget it. After driving a cabriolet BMW, thinking I was Al Capone and had everything in life. But I lost everything in life because I thought I was bigger than that. Never think, for those in recovery who are watching, or for moms and father, aren't good enough. We are not bad people, we're sick people. And we're good enough to do anything. I've seen alcoholics and addicts come into recovery, and when they leave, I can name the names. Kurt Schuler, Graham van Rensburg, Angus, AD. I've seen so many beautiful people become sober and that today are sober. Lee Jason. So many. Steon Mostert. Beautiful memories of people that wanted and fought for recovery. And Garth Hilario. People that thought they had no chance in life. While there is hope, there's a chance. And tonight, there isn't a topic tonight. Tonight we're just having a chat on what we have to do and should do in order to maintain sobriety and get ourselves to a position where alcohol and drugs will always be there, and we'll know that we can never use again, but we continue with life. Because God gave us life, and He gave us life in abundance. If I'm going to sit in self-pity in the corner and say, you know what, I can't drink or drug anymore, I may as well go drink and drug. In order to take our place on this planet, we may feel we have to earn our place. A lot of us have earned our stripes. Our parents as well. I think our parents have earned more stripes because they were sober. They were sober going through this. And we were the ones causing the chaos. We put them through the pain. Is the phone going to ring? Carl, can you just come check if the message is coming through? Oh, they are. Because they're not like coming through. So I don't know if there's any questions. We may feel that we have to earn our place. Like we're getting watched and judged and graded. There's no one on this earth that can grade us. People can watch us. And people will watch us, and loved ones will watch us, because they don't want us to go back. They must watch for signs. But it doesn't have to be degrading to anyone. The gifts and the talents that we have got, we will use if we maintain our sobriety. We can all make a difference in this world to one person. If we've made the difference to one person, we've made a difference in life. We have learned our lesson, we hope. For those who come into recovery and they think it's a joke, and they waste their parents' money, and they play games while they're on this farm, are only going back to their dealer. That's all they're going. Straight back to their dealer. Let go to the need to prove. Don't prove to mom and dad, hey mom, look, I can stay sober. It comes in the action. Just stay sober. Just stay sober. Could it be you're trying to prove to the world that we are worthy people? We are worthy. We're made in the image of God. We're not bad people. We are good people. One of the biggest things, Charlie, I'm going to say again, Charlie Williams, well done for the 10 years, brother. Tremendous. We must learn to approve of ourselves. We're not full mark. We never will be. But we can love ourselves. And we can love others while we're loving ourselves. The choices we make, it's all about choices. During the day, we can pause when situations must be met and decisions made. We don't have to be compulsive and make a decision that's going to come back and bite us in the arse. Thy will be done, God, not my will. My will got me into the trouble that I was in the past. If at these points our emotional disturbance happens to be great, we will more surely keep our balance, provided we remember and a particular prayer. And the particular prayer is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I remember walking into prison and thinking, what now? And when that door closed and there's 80 people there with you and you're looking around, who's who? It's frightening. It's not a nice thing to go through, but my actions took me there that I can't blame anything on. Our search for God's will is the most important search us addicts and alcoholics, and I believe every human being, will ever go through. What is the next right thing to do? What is the next right thing to do? As we go through the day, agitated or doubtful, we do get agitated, we do get doubtful. in many different things in our lives, not only drugs and alcohol. And we ask for the right thought or action. But do we rely on God's will? Do we rely on it? Did I rely on it? When I put my mother and my father through so much pain. When my mother was praying for me and lying in the bed late at night and wondering whether the police are going to phone, whether they're going to phone I'm in a mortuary, whether I've had an accident. That's the pain we put our parents through. Resentments have a way of creeping back into our lives. Still get resentments. And that resentment is the number one killer that's going to lead us back to our drink or drug. Holding forward as an addict and an alcoholic, we can't afford to hold grudges. And I don't think people can afford to hold grudges. Life is too short to hold the grudge. Am I angry towards someone? The addict and alcoholic had luxury. You know, when I went to school and I spent the best 3 years of my life in Standard 8, and then they put me through to Standard 9 because I was too getting old for Standard 8 now. I was tripping. And then I went to Standard 9, and then they put me through to Matric. So I didn't actually write Standard 8 because I couldn't, because I was thick. And I only went to school to play sport. So when they put me through to Standard 9, I didn't write there. I just wrote my name, and I was put through to Matric because it was time for them to get me out of the school. Because I thought I could stay at school and become the caretaker. And I played a lot of sport, and I was a top sportsman at school. I mean a top sportsman. That was my dream, was to go and play sport. And then when I wrote Matric, I had to write Matric. They couldn't put me through there. No one ever wrote back. So I thought there was a misprint in the newspaper. I didn't hold a grudge, man. I didn't get angry or blame. You know what? I'm going to become a drug addict now. I'm going to become an alcoholic now because I can't get a Matric and I didn't study. You can't go fly an aeroplane if you haven't gone to study to be a pilot. You can't become a doctor if you haven't been to university. And life was good then. Life was good. Up until 25, 26 years old, my life was good. And then I crossed the invisible line. No one wants to cross the invisible line. We think that we can enjoy drugs. We think we can enjoy alcohol. And my main drug of choice was more. The more I could get, my main source of addiction was alcohol. But I could never get enough. I was the oak who sat at the pub and ordered 10 beers or 10 whatever when they couldn't get more. And that's how far down the scale I went. In the interest of recovery, in my own best interest, I can continue to forgive each day, something I used to struggle with. My eldest brother and I, we started talking to each other when I was 10 years sober. He came to visit me on the farm. 10 years sober. Today we speak every single day. But it took him 10 years after the chaos and pain that I caused. And I very rarely tell my whole life story because I don't all the time. When I go and give a speech at a school or a university, I'll go tell my life story. Because I caused a lot of pain. I inflicted a lot of pain that I'm not proud of today. But I'm not going to let it hold me back. And it's a growth period. It's a growth phase that we have to go through. All of us, families as well. Families are getting tormented. There has never been such a drug pandemic, epidemic as there is now in this country. We see the statistics from the Medical Research Council. We see the statistics of people who come in here. We hear the statistics of people who... There's an explosion of alcohol and drugs in this country. There's an explosion, sorry. I'm just looking if there's any questions here. Good evening all. Sorry, I'm just looking through here. I love what you do and tell it. Okay, thank you, Kurt. You want to raise? Hi, Richie, baby. That was so beautiful. Like I said last night, Richard and his girlfriend came to visit. Richard was here for 2.5 years, and then he left, and he's now staying with Janie, his girlfriend, and he came to visit me and my mom and the guys on Sunday. How beautiful that was. And he's looking. I get blessed by people who send their children to us. It's a blessing that they can come through our hands and find recovery. I'm just going to go through you a bit more. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Laura. Laura, Kurt. Kurt, you're commenting a lot tonight. Kurt is our general manager of Rael. When he starts commenting too much, he wants an increase. Now, he's worth much more than he does get paid because he gets paid a fat salary, but he wants more. Come on, Kurt, man. I love you so much, Kurt. Hi, Patsy. That's my mom's name. Sally, how's it? Richard, okay. Leandra. Craig, how's it? Gladwin, how are you, my man? I'm so glad that you're doing well. You're also the one who came against all odds to make it, my brother. Hi, Conrad. Richard, Craig, how's it? Vanessa, hello, Vanessa, my dear. Conrad, Diane, Brett, hi, Brett. Nice to have you on board. The man, you're the man. Henning Viljoen, he's also going to come share his story one night from his house. Beautiful singer, came here, found his recovery, got married. What more do you want? We saw him in the market the other day. Patsy, to bubble gum, it sticks to his dentures. Okay, Kurt, that is the first sign of addiction recovery, when you can admit something openly. Well done. I'm just going through. Rian, how's it? Michael, how's it? Gaino, hello. Wendy Lockett. What an amazing woman. Wendy Lockett. And there's buildings here named after Wendy Lockett, and I'm sure Wendy won't remind this. Wendy lost her beautiful daughter to drugs. And many, many years ago, we arranged a big event in Edgemead, and Wendy came up and spoke her life story. And I'm going to ask Wendy if Wendy can share her life story on this forum as well, after losing her beautiful daughter. It's a tragic, tragic story that was told by a mother that I don't believe has really got over it yet. A wonderful woman is Wendy Lockett. An amazing woman. Just like Angela van Grienen, who I phoned yesterday, who lost her husband in the last couple of days. We become a family. We help each other. Lots of respect to you, Wendy. Hi, Dominic. Dominic Hall, I wonder if you're related. I don't know. I don't think so. You never know in these days. Why is the birth rate is so bad in Brakpan at line families to mix? I'm a pig on drugs. That's right. Gambling is a form of compulsion. You're quite right, Richard. So is whoring. And there's Dr. DeToy. She's our doctor here. She hasn't got a problem. She only drinks one glass of red wine a night. But she's doing well. She looks after the boys here. And that's it, when you go through here and you see the names, and you got Carl here, who does excellent tax work and computer work. There is so much skills and talent. But if the addict must first get off his bloody ass and realize that mom and dad are not there to be his servant. He is there to be their servant. This bloody entitlement that we see every day. And when people come into recovery and they tell me, excuse me, can I go to the gym this afternoon? Listen here, my brother, you're still drugged. And you want to go to the gym. Yeah, you're going to be told what to do. Because you used to call in the shots at home. You ain't going to call the shots here, my bro. And then we will find a nice pathway to do this recovery together. Don't come with terms and conditions. Most of the guys come in here, not most, a lot of the guys come in here that don't eat vegetables. Now, so I say to them, my brother, can't you try the vegetables? You tried putting a syringe in your arm for 10 years. You tried a couple of tick lollies. Tried a couple of bottles. Don't you think you can make a plan, bro? No, I never put that shit in my body. We're delusional, man. We become delusional. That's why I'm so glad that the men that I've got around me, and I'll name them again, Curtis, the general manager, Roy, Graham the Great, Carl's still working his way up, but he'll get there. Our people, AD, who runs the outside, are people who've all been through shit in their lives, man. If we had to make a movie just for the 6 of us, Richard Gere will probably have to play me. I'm only joking there. I don't know who will play Kurt, but anyway. Kurt, it's beautiful that when you phoned me today and you showed me your little baby of 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Beautiful little girl. Hey, blessed, eh? Sobriety is a blessing, eh? Too much of my life has been spent in dwelling upon the faults of others. It's easier to take the inventory of another person than to take oneself into inventory. This is the form of self-satisfaction. Permits us to remain comfortably unaware of our own character defects. And that's step 6 of the recovery program. Our defects. Our defects. It's easier to look at someone else's defects. Like you look at the neighbor. Hey, look, they don't wash their curtains. They don't do this. They don't do that. They don't. Hey, but come inside your own house. Or go look what your pavement looks like. Or go look what my pavement looks like. It's easier to look at other people's defects than to look at our own. Too often we heard to say, if it weren't for him or her, how happy I would be. It's like when you take the chick out for the first night, and that's what I tell the youngsters who come in here. You're going to go to a nice restaurant if you've got the kroon. It's all about the kroon. And she said, and you say to her, my darling, what would you like to drink? Here comes the honesty. I'll have a whiskey, please. Okay? And then she says, my darling, Angus, what are you going to drink? No, I'm going to have a Coke, please. What? A Coke? In a good restaurant like this? No, I'm not feeling too well tonight. These antibiotics are working on me. And then next time they go out to dinner again, the same thing happens. Until if Angus rather say to her right at the beginning, listen here, nice, beautiful, cheeky babes, even if he wants to get laid or whatever he wants to happen. I'm an alcoholic addict. If I take one of these, you will never see me again. And if she doesn't support you in that, she can never be in your life. She can never be in your life. You need a partner that supports you through thick and thin. The simple condition of being awake and aware. We have to be awake and aware at all times. Awake and aware. Choose our friends, because you can't choose your family. Choose the places we go to. We go to slippery places, we slip. And the old one, we sit in the hairdresser long enough, we're going to get a haircut. The most troublesome service plan in helping others is a booby trap, but it's also effortlessly avoided once willingness, ambition, what we talked about at the beginning of this program, and expectations of outcomes have all purged out of motivation. I'm sorry to say this, but majority of youngsters today, they've got as much motivation, I don't know as what. It's sad, actually. And it's sad because of, let's put it out there, BEE, where are they going to get a job? White, colored, and black are under siege. They've lost the passion. They've lost the dream. The dream seems to be TV games, PlayStations. I've never played one in my life, but it doesn't make me better or worse. And mom running off them as the maid. Can't even make their own bloody bed and they're 20 years old. Don't say that I'm being hard. I'm being exactly the way I was brought up. And I turned out that way. So it doesn't mean that it's a guarantee, but I tell you, it gives you a good bloody chance. When we start being helpful to others, there are so many beautiful people on this wall at the moment that I can see that are helpful to others. The world has become a world of take. One black man dies in America and the whole world revolts. Our children on the Cape Flats are dying daily. Our farmers are dying daily. Where's the revolt? Hypocrites. That's what we are. And just to close off with a bit of hope. Hope for all of us. We lay awake all night down in the pit of this depression. New hope had suddenly been born. Mine was born on the 28th of June, 2005. By God's will and God's grace and God's mercy, I'll be 15 years sober. Presents are welcome. The thought flashed through his mind. If they can do it, if they can do it, if this drunk could do it, I can do it. What makes me different? Nothing. Over and over he says to himself, finally out of his hope, there burst conviction. Now he was sure. Then came a great joy. At length peace stole over him, and he slept. How beautiful it is these days to put your head on the pillow and fall asleep. Not the next morning, putting the duvet over your head and the phone rings in the old days with the landlines. Or are the cops coming? Then there's a loud bang on the door. The fear of the crap we caused the night before. Hope sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. I just want to see if there's any messages for us. If there's any questions, because I've just got this piece here. When I face a fear, I'm given courage. When I support a brother or sister, my capacity to love myself is increased. When I accept pain as part of the growing experience of life, I realize a greater happiness. When I look at my dark side, I'm brought into a new light. When I accept my vulnerabilities and surrender to God, the train coming out the tunnel is no longer coming to crash us and kill us. Where there's hope, the light that is coming through the tunnel today is putting light on our life, that we can put light on other people's lives. We are here to love and to light up the candle for our fellow man. We are not here to destroy and destruct like this man did through all the years. We are here to give love. We are here to help everyone. But as it says in the Word of God, discipline is love. If you want recovery, come for recovery. Don't come play games. I've got no time for someone who wants to play games. You want to play games, go play games somewhere else. You're not going to play it on my farm. You do your recovery. You give your parents their money's worth. You give them a rest while, your parents a rest while you are in recovery, and they don't have to worry that you out causing shit, that they can also recover. Because sometimes our parents need more recovery than we do, because we were stoned and drunk the whole time. I just want to see if there's any messages here. Is there? And that's the most important thing, the journey where alcohol and drugs took me, mainly alcohol. It was a long journey. It was a hurtful journey. It started off as a pleasurable journey. It started off that it was fun. And then I crossed the invisible line into chaos. And once you cross into chaos, you can't cross back. You can never cross back. We must know the difference. How many families, as we sit here tonight, are being destroyed by alcohol and drugs in South Africa? I've seen it around the world as well. Addicts all over. It's easy to rule a nation that is addicted, because we then will not worry about who's stealing what, what's going for what. We'll only worry about, where's my next fix? Where is my next fix? Not who's stealing us out, robbing us blind. We get to a situation in life where we think, well, it's over. I've spoken to many an addict on the street. I spoke to one, I'll never forget it, in 43rd Avenue in New York. He was 26 years old. He was a war veteran from Iraq. He was a heroin addict. And I said, my brother, I can't believe what is happening to you. And he said to me, well, I've served my time. We were sitting on the steps of the Empire State Building. Your heart can break for people like that. My heart breaks when people phone me and say, please help, but I got nothing. It breaks in half. But a lot of people don't take and don't respect the help you're trying to give them. They don't respect it, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes when you get it, when people are getting it for free, they don't respect it. We're fighting an uphill battle, but we have got God on our side. And He will, if we seek Him at all times, that harmony can come into families, and that boys and girls can stay sober for the rest of our lives. We cannot be the people that are called the dregs and the drugs and the this and the that of society, because there's too much pain in this world. And alcohol and drugs is busy taking that pain away. And when there's no more of that to be taken away, the suffering will continue. The suffering is going to continue for our children. And I want to say this again. Out of all the people that I sponsor on this farm, most of them are the most ungrateful people I've ever met. They have got no thanks. They are entitled. And I'm going to consider in future probably sponsoring half the amount, but not for free. There's so many people out there who are dying for recovery, and then people come in to my farm and are rude to my staff, and they're getting sponsored. It's a bloody cheek, because they haven't gone down far enough. They don't know what desperation means. They don't know what it is like to have nothing and no safety net in their lives. I remember a story I can tell you that happened in the Goldstone Commission, for those of you who are old enough to know what the Goldstone Commission was. One day I was working in the murder and robbery squad. It's the first panic attack I ever had. I was working in the murder and robbery squad, and it was around Christmas, and a white farmer was killed in Sishlui. And we went out. Our boss sent us out because I was in a team that just used to chase suspects. I didn't carry dockets, so that I just used to chase, arrest, or shoot, or whatever it goes. And we went out and we took this man out to investigation late at night. And to cut a long story short, you can Google it. This man was shot in the back of the head while he was pointing out the firearm. There was no firearm. Our office, and I drank, and I drank, and I drank, and I couldn't get this vision of the back of this man's head being blown apart. The next week, I just couldn't move. I just started getting anxiety attacks that I didn't know it was anxiety attacks until I saw a doctor. And I lay in hospital. And I could never make amends to that man. And he's not the only one. While we're alive, let's make amends to people so we don't have the regrets for tomorrow. Let's be more peaceful to each other, more respectful to each other. Children, when I say children younger than me, honor thy mother and father. Respect them at all times. If you've got a problem, go and talk to someone. If you want to talk to me, my line is always open. I never turn my telephone off. If you want to WhatsApp me or phone me, you need help, I'll do my best, my utmost damnedest best to help you from going down the road of hell. Because once you're going down the road of hell, like Winston Churchill says, rather keep going. Come out on the other side. My friends, there comes a time that we raise our voice, and there comes a time that we talk serenely, and there comes a time that we just feel that the Spirit flows from me to you through God, that we need to find peace, respect, love, morals and values back in our communities, back in our homes, back in our families. Otherwise we are doomed. We need to trust God, accept the things we cannot change, and we need to pray for those who don't have food tonight in South Africa. And I see there's 1 or 2, 3 people from overseas that don't have food. The homeless man on the streets. I believe South Africa is not a saving country and a saving nation. So maybe we're 1 or 2 paychecks away from the pavement and away from the streets. Let's help and love thy neighbor. For the people on this platform tonight who are still using drugs and alcohol, leave that shit alone. I've yet, and I've said it many times, alcoholic and drugging story, I will close my rehab while you're still drugging. I'm not talking about people who got sober. I'm talking while you're drugging and while you're drinking. People struggling out there. I've always been an activist and someone who takes on the underdog at all times. I will back the underdog all the time. And I've never been afraid to voice my opinion. And I've never been afraid to take the consequences of voicing my opinion. I came out of 25 years of hard drinking and drugging. I lost a lot of my life. But thank God I've got new things in my life. I've got new people in my life. Love is what it's all about. Even Rihanna, she's probably tripping now while I'm talking. On a 3rd bottle of wine. But that's okay. She's not an alcoholic. She manages it. Only joking. But let's have fun. You know, let's have fun sometimes. How's it, Tyson? My new dog is tripping here. He doesn't know what the computer is yet. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy life. Let's go out as families. That's when we're with our families, maybe sometimes, and I'm guilty of it because my phone goes off most of the time, is put the phone down and look at your loved one's eyes and say, well, I love you. And not to say I love you because you have to say it. But I love. Okay, the dogs are tripping here. Okay, Carl's just going to come and say a few words of thank you. And I'm going to say thank you very much for listening. So tomorrow we will have... Carl will be sharing tomorrow, and then we will have Tank, and we'll have Graham the Great, and we'll have the General Manager, Kurt Schuller. Thank you all, and may God keep you, and may God bless you, until we meet again, hopefully very soon, by the weekend. Yes, Carl. God bless. About 5.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, thank you for joining in. Thank you for coming to join us for the share, for Mr. Hall's share. First and foremost, thank you to you, Mr. Hall. Thank you to you, and thank you for this organization. Thank you for everything that you do for all of us here. And thank you for your mind and your heart. The way you see and perceive recovery and addiction, the way that you are able to take a look into your own life and parallel that with our lives in order to advise us in the most accurate way possible is just incredible. There's not a single moment that goes by that this man speaks that I don't find myself moved or inspired or educated on something. That was right in front of me that I just never had the time or never took the time to notice in the way that Mr. Hall paints the picture. So it's always incredible to hear you share, Mr. Hall. Thank you very much once again, and thank you to everybody that's joining us. I think we're doing something exceptional here with regards to these live shares. I think that it enables us to touch people that perhaps we wouldn't have been able to access before, especially during this time where people can't get out to meetings, where finding recovery-based meetings is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. And we appreciate your support. Every bit of support we get, every share, every like, every comment is the potential that another addict out there who's suffering might see something that one of us have to say or watch one of these videos, and who's to say somebody's not watching right now that perhaps was going to pick up or was going to use or was going to go drink and put it down just because of what they had to hear or to say. Yeah, so your support, everybody's support in these videos, appreciated. I think for the guys, those of us here that are involved in attempting to push this drive or this movement, it leaves us feeling as though we are doing something truly exceptional with regards to carrying the message to the still suffering. So again, thank you for your support. Please share, like and share as often as possible. If you know people out there that are suffering, if you have a friend, if you have a family member, an extended family member who has a family member, let them know what we're doing. Tell them where they can find us. RAEL Live Recovery Stories on Facebook. Point them to these videos every night at 8:30. And together let's save lives. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you to this organization, and thank you for everybody that joined us this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Cheers.